Ash Ketchum vs. Leon, Ash's ultimate Pokemon battle, with callbacks to Charizard's seismic toss finisher, references to Ash's battles in Diamond and Pearl, and even having a surprise similar to Ash's battle against Kukui. This full 6-on-6 battle was packed with tons of Easter eggs and hidden details you may have missed. In this complete breakdown of Ash vs. Leon, we'll uncover all these hidden details and Easter eggs. Comment below which of these Easter eggs and details you found the most interesting, and subscribe for more Pokemon anime content like this. With that said, let's get started. We open up on Slateport City in the Hoenn region, and this is actually the first little Easter egg you may have missed, as Slateport City seems to be a designated city for important character events in the Pokemon anime. Go is here for his final Project Mew trial mission, and this is also the same location he arrived at for his second trial mission, and even before this, Slateport City was where the Hoenn Grand Festival was hosted during the Advanced Generation series. So it just seems like there's a trend for important events happening in this city, or at least meeting up here prior to the events. Go meets up with his good friend Horace, known as Tokyo in the original Japanese version that's spelled Tokio, not to be confused with Tokyo, the capital of Japan. And Horace is actually voiced by Jenny Yokobori in the dub, and this is another Jenny I'm sure Brock would fall in love with. Jenny may be known for voicing Horace in Pokemon Journeys, but she's also voiced other roles such as Miki in Pokemon Evolutions, Gary's Hatterene, Nita from Pokemon Masters EX, and even Kumiko Albertson from The Simpsons. Gary then shows up, and what's interesting is that he's actually been wearing his game's counterpart's outfit from Heart Gold throughout this entire series. In the games and manga, he's known as Blue, and this is the same outfit he wears in his redesign in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The three of them get going and meet up with Danica and Quillen. Danica is known as Asahi in the Japanese version, and in the dub is voiced by Anjalu Kunapenani. I apologize if I'm butchering the name. She's also known for her other roles, voicing Roy in the new Pokemon Horizons anime, being the voice of Courtney in Pokemon Masters EX, and also voicing Fuku from Demon Slayer, Mimi Imimi from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, and Margaret from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Her partner Quillen is also with her, known as Tsurugi in Japan. In the dub, he's voiced by Max Middleman. He's also done the voices of characters like Notched Faust from Black Clover, Tim Templeton from The Boss Baby, Back in the Crib, Fandral from Marvel's What If series, and King from Seven Deadly Sins. They take off, and we cut to Ash looking into the distance as he wishes Go good luck on his trial mission. We then cut to Ash arriving at Winden Stadium, and in this shot of Ash standing outside in the crowd, I've just always loved the size comparison between the people and Winden Stadium. It just demonstrates how the battles that take place here are always grandiose and next level, which the battles in the Masters 8 tournament typically are. Well, for the most part anyways. There's also some Pokemon hidden among the crowd here, being Venonat, Lotad, Bonsly, Slowpoke, Pyukumuku, and Picurchin, along with the Bug Catcher, Hiker, and Pokemaniac trainer classes hidden in the crowd. Next, the opening theme plays, and I absolutely just despise this song because it just doesn't fit with the Pokemon anime at all. Normally, since the beginning, all the openings and theme songs have been upbeat, lively, usually accompanied with guitar and drums to raise our spirit of adventure. This one is just so jarring because it's juxtaposed next to such dynamic and beautiful shots of the Pokemon anime. The song itself is actually beautiful, but just doesn't fit the anime as it doesn't provide that thrill I want to feel if I'm going on a Pokemon journey. But with my personal opinion out of the way, this opening begins on a close-up of a Pokeball as if it was catching a Pokemon, and one of those stars actually transforms into Mew, symbolizing not only Mew's ability to take the shape of any other Pokemon due to its genetic makeup, but also Go's desire to one day catch Mew, which is why he started his journey in the first place. We get a shot of Ash's first encounter with Pikachu in Professor Oak's lab, demonstrating that this would be Ash's last adventure with us, so it hits us with some nostalgia. We see a shot of Go as a kid looking up to Mew, since again, that's his whole inspiration for going on a journey with Ash and becoming a research fellow at the Cerise Institute. Then we get a cool eye transition from Go and his Galarian starter Pokemon to Ash as he summons his Journeys team. Pikachu fires off its signature 10 million volt Thunderbolt, and then it's super quick, but you can see the aftermath of a clash between Leon's Charizard using Fire Blast and Ash's Lucario using its giant Aura Sphere attack, which actually exists in the full opening in the Japanese version. So I think it's interesting that they shortened such an epic shot here in the final season's opening, and because it's so quick, why even include it? I think it's odd, but let's move on. Pikachu falls into Ash's arms, and then we get this shot of Chloe and her Eevee in her contest outfit that she wore when she was getting advice from Serena, and all the evolutions are also displayed by her side, since her whole arc, if you want to call it that, was her and Eevee trying to figure out what path they wanted to pursue. We get a quick shot of Danica and Quillen with their respective Urshifu forms alongside Go as they prepare for an upcoming Project Mew trial mission. A fun fact here is that in the Japanese version of this opening, this shot extends more to show them staring down a giant Regigigas alongside Regidrago and Regieleki in the Crown Tundra, which is seemingly a scrapped plot point because once they caught a Regidrago and Regieleki, nothing ever happened with Regigigas in this anime. So like, what was the point? Ash and Go look up at Team Rocket as James's Morpeko eats a ton of berries, then does his iconic and signature hat turnaround as he sends a Gigantamax Pokeball into the air. And in the Japanese version, this shot continues further to show all 6 of Ash's Pokemon fighting in battle, which then continues into the shot of Pikachu firing off its Z-move that we saw earlier in the opening. And before any of this happens is when we technically get the eye transition shot between Ash and Go. So it's quite interesting how they move the shots around for the English dub openings. And then we finally end on the title card for this season, Pokémon Ultimate Journeys, as this is supposed to be Ash's greatest adventure with his greatest challenges as he aims to be the very best like no one ever was. The title card for the episode plays, and of course this episode is called A Flood of Torrential Gains, and is just called The Finals 1 Torrent in Japan. Both Ash and Leon actually read the episode title to the audience. Normally it's just Ash, but because of how monumental of an obstacle Leon is to Ash, and how similar the two of them are as trainers, it's a good symbolic choice to have them both read the episode title. We get an opening shot of Winden Stadium and then cut to Ash in the locker room area surrounded by his Jourenys team as he gives them a pep talk before their biggest battle ever, just like a football or a basketball coach would right before the finals of the NFL or NBA tournaments we watch every year, and I think this was a really nice moment. Dawn and Chloe then show up to support Ash in his big battle, and this actually marks the first time one of Ash's former traveling companions has traveled to see Ash participate in a tournament in person, not counting Iris since she was already there participating herself. This was so sweet of Dawn, and this is why she's the best Pokegirl. And Dawn's voice actress also does the voice of our beloved champion, Cynthia, in case it wasn't obvious. They are both voiced by the lovely Emily Janis. She's also done voice work for characters like Officer Jenny beginning in Pokemon Journeys Episode 3, Matori from Team Rocket, Pokemon like Broxapini and Chansey, Dawn's Ambipom, Clement, Shinx, and Luxio, and outside of Pokemon, she's also voiced Zuzu Boyle, Selena, Rin, and Lulu Obsidian, who are all from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. So please note that when I list off other roles that these voice actors have done, I am only naming a few, as many of them have voiced so many characters, I would need an entire separate video just to cover them. After Ash's pep talk, we switch over to Leon, who's with his younger brother Hop. Leon is nervous before the big battle, not visibly, but he recalls his first ever Pokemon battle as a kid with his Charmander in a battle against Sonia's Rookidee. He wonders why he's recalling it now. This just goes to show the impact and influence that Ash has had on Leon throughout the series, and especially during the Masters 8 tournament. We then get to moments before the battle where we see Piplup sporting its iconic cheerleader outfit so he can cheer on Ash during the battle. This outfit first debuted during Ash's Orbrick City gym battle against Rourke back in Diamond and Pearl, which makes me wonder why Dawn isn't wearing her cheerleader outfit here too. Maybe she doesn't want to distract anyone from the battle since she's in public stands as opposed to the more private stands of a Pokemon gym. Leon is also voiced by Alejandro Saab, who's also voiced Rourke and Professor Kukui in Pokemon Masters EX. Team Rocket continues their act of narrating and live streaming the matches of the Masters 8 tournament, and I just think it's so funny that they still refer to Ash as the twerp even on a public broadcast. Even after all these years, they still don't know his name despite hearing it many times, and it's just a funny gag. But as soon as the match is about to start, they actually decide to drop the broadcast altogether and just enjoy the battle so they can cheer him on and be there in the moment. I think it's such a great wholesome decision on their part to just pay respect to him since they know firsthand how strong he is. As the match is about to begin, we see Iris, Lance, Alan, Professor Sycamore, and Marin tuning in to watch the battle. Which honestly just makes me wonder why they didn't just stay at the stadium in the first place since they were already there, aside from, Professor Sycamore and Marin, of course. Ash is introduced to the crowd as the first Alola region champion, and as the crowd cheers, Dawn cheers too, saying if Ash can't do it, no one can. This is the exact same cheer she used during their time together in Sinnoh. Ash and Leon take to the battlefield, and Leon throws off his cape just like he does in the games. And when he calls out his first Pokemon Cinderace, he even throws the Pokeball like a baseball player throwing a pitch. Just another subtle nod to how battles in Galar are treated like spectacles in big events, just like sporting events here in real life. Pikachu is Ash's first Pokemon to hit the field, just like in other League battles against Paul in the Sinnoh League and when he battled against Alon in the Kalos League. Then as Ash's Pokemon watch the battle alongside his mom, Professor Oak and Tracy, we can actually see that Ash's Crocodile's shades are missing their red frame around the lenses. When Inteleon and Gengar hit the field as their second Pokemon each, Ash makes the remark that he feels like he's battling Go, since just like Leon, he also owns both Cinderace and Inteleon. This could be a subtle reference towards the third opening of Pokemon Journeys, where we actually got a shot of Ash and Go battling in the rain with Lucario versus Cinderace respectively. This is when we all thought that Ash and Go would at some point have a climactic battle or even a full battle against each other, which unfortunately never ended up happening. Next, Leon throws Ash off his game by using his own counter shield technique against him, making him the first character outside of the Diamond and Pearl anime to use this technique. Ash's counter shield technique is of course the technique he made famous and developed during his travels in Sinnoh, first using it in his battle against Fantina during his Heart City gym battle, and using it in other battles such as his battles against Paul at Lake QOTD and in the Sinnoh League. But beyond that, it also looks the same as when Ash had his Buizel spin and use Aqua Jet against Paul at Lake QOTD to deflect Ursaring's Focus Blast. Then when Ash Gigantamaxes Gengar, you can see that the camera actually pans up to the sky and holds there for a couple seconds, which is actually a subtle foreshadowing technique of the eventual arrival of Eternatus later on during this battle. Then when Gengar is able to defeat Inteleon, we can see that Alistair is also watching the match. He's the Ghost-type gym leader of Galar who helped Ash's Gengar become capable of Gigantamax earlier in the series. Leon then sends out his third Pokemon, Mr. Rime, Mr. Rime being the evolution to Galarian Mr. Mime, and then Leon's Mr. Rime uses Freeze Dry to freeze Gengar and the battlefield, which results in Ash being at a disadvantage, having to battle on an ice battlefield, though this isn't the first time he's had to do so, examples being his battles against Viola, Wulfric, Candace, and Bryson. And I think it's quite fascinating that so far every matchup in this battle, in part 1, has involved opposing elements. We have Cinderace becoming a ground type to counter Pikachu's electric typing, we have a clash of water and fire between Inteleon's Aqua Jet and Gengar's Will-O-Wisp, and then Mr. Rime is an ice type which stands opposite to fire type moves like Will-O-Wisp. But it's also interesting that Leon used an ice type to take out Gengar, a Pokemon known for typically being rather cold itself. The episode ends with Ash preparing his counterattack against Leon's Mr. Rime as the battle heats up in the finals of the Masters 8 tournament. This episode picks up from the last one, with Ash having to find a counter against Leon's Mr. Rime. This is the Pokemon that defeated Ash's Gengar in the episode prior, and has also made the battlefield its own by covering it with ice by using Freeze Dry, and then using Psychic Terrain. Ash decides to counter by using Surf Edge, saying there's something only he can do. When the title card appears, both Ash and Leon read this title card just like in the first part of this battle, which just goes to show how important both of them have been as characters in the series. It also demonstrates the influence Ash has had on Leon, and vice versa throughout the series, and especially during the Masters 8 tournament. The battle picks up and Ash has Surf Edge use Fury Cutter against Mr. Rime. As they battle, Mr. Rime defends against the attack using its cane, and this actually makes the fight look like a sword duel between two medieval knights. It also bears resemblance to a fencing match as well. Of course, Surf Edge is based off knights since Galar is based off the United Kingdom, with a large portion of the area being England, and England, like many European countries, have had knights at some point during their history, knights being the iconic figures of the medieval times of Europe's history. Surf Edge is then hit with expanding force, and when it falls to the ground and drops its shield, you can actually hear that the sound team made the shield hitting the ground sound like an actual metallic shield, despite the shield being made up of a leek. I just think it's a neat attention to detail to really play into the whole chivalrous knight concept of Surf Edge's design. We can then see that Wilkstrom is watching this battle as well, Wilkstrom being the Kalos Elite 4 member who helped Ash's Galarian Farfetch with some special training earlier in the series. After getting hit with Triple Axle and pole vaulting to grab its shield and block another Triple Axle attack, Ash has Surfetch use Fury Cutter to cut up the ice field. When he says this, however, he strikes an interesting pose. He makes the same pose that Alon made when telling Charizard to fire off Blast Burn during their match in the Kalos League Finals. But Ash also made the same pose earlier in another series, in Sun and Moon, when he was battling Olivia during his grand trial match. Sirfetch'd uses Fury Cutter to cut up the ice battlefield, and it seems Ash has a knack for breaking ice, as he's broken ice against Brandon's Regice and Wulfric's Mega Abomasnow. But this is also a tactic Ash has used in the Sinnoh League as well, when he had to eliminate the toxic spikes that Paul had set up in the match. I think it's funny too that Diantha is even shocked herself that Ash's strategy worked to eliminate the psychic terrain. It just seems like a meta joke from the writers that they know Ash has come up with some wild strategies that sometimes just shouldn't work. And yes, we're looking at Thunder Armor. But in addition to this tactic being similar to Ash's underground Flare Blitz with Infernip, it's even more similar to the Trick Room strategy Ash used against Valerie in his Laver City gym battle. During that battle, he had Alucha use X-Scissor, another bug-type move, to break a psychic field move, in this case, Trick Room. So this isn't the first time Ash has broken through a psychic move using a bug-type offensive move. Following that, Ash switches Sirfetch'd for Lucario, and the transition sequence is so cool and thematic as it showcases their bond as fighting-type Pokemon on Ash's Jourenys team. Once Lucario hits the field, Ash immediately unleashes his power of Mega Evolution and brings forth Mega Lucario. We're then shown Gherkin, Karina, and Bee are watching this match as well. Bee was Ash's rival earlier in the series, and she's the fighting-type gym leader of Galar. Bee's seen Ash's Lucario since it was the Riolu, and then after gaining the power to Mega Evolve, Ash then challenged Bee again, and Mega Lucario stood up to her Gigantamax Machamp and then defeated it once it returned to normal size. Bee is also voiced by Tiana Camacho, and she's also voiced Nessa in Pokemon Master ZX, as well as Christina in Great Pretender, Steph in Ancient Frontier, and Jorgen from Beefcake Boys. Karina is the fighting-type gym leader of Shalor City in the Kalos region, and is one of the many trainers Ash has faced over the years that has owned a Lucario, but she's the only trainer he's fought that owned a Mega Lucario. Karina is voiced by Lisa Ortiz, which is very notable because she's actually the current voice director for the English dub of the Pokemon anime. But besides Karina, she's also voiced Flannery, Mars, Lisa, and Pokemon such as Ash's Oshawott, Ash's Litten and Torracat, Tapu Fini, Valerie Spritzy, and Naganadel. Outside of Pokemon, she's done the voices of Amy Rose in Sonic X and all Sonic games from 2005 to 2009, Serenity Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, Burnin from My Hero Academia, and Tony Chopper from One Piece. It's also very poetic that back in XY, Ash witnessed Karina's struggle with mastering Mega Evolution and even helped her in her endeavor. And then in this series, we have Karina and Gherkin helping Ash attain and master Mega Evolution with his own Lucario. Gherkin is voiced by Jason Griffith, who's also done the voices of our fabulous man Silent, Brawly, Looker, Tate, and Sir Aaron, and even Pokemon like Ash's Scraggy, Ash's Gudra from XY episode 67 onwards, Trip's Superior line, and George's Bisharp as well. Outside of Pokemon, he's known for voicing Sonic and Shadow the Hedgehog in Sonic X, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and all Sonic games from 2005 to 2010. He's also done Jet the Hawk from Sonic Riders and Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, Primo and Emporio from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Lord Darkar from Winx Club, Atticus Rhodes from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and Usopp and Yasopp from One Piece. And keep in mind, I stated in my last video that when I list off the various roles from these voice actors, I'm not listing them all, as that would take an entirely separate video. This episode is also the last time we would see Gherkin, Karina, and Wilkstrom. And of course, Ash having Mega Lucario is extreme fan service, as ever since Pokemon XY, we all wanted Ash to get his own Mega Evolution, and we've wanted to have Lucario ever since his interactions with the Lucario from the 8th Pokemon film, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. In Pokemon Journeys, we finally got our wish. After Lucario Mega Evolves, there's actually a quick shot of the camera staying focused on the sky above the battlefield, as we can see little particles fill the air, presumably being Mega Evolution energy particles filling the air. This is just another subtle hint of foreshadowing at Eternatus' eventual arrival later in the battle. Ash has Lucario use its power of Aura to sense the movements of Mr. Rime, as it is famously known to be able to do. But what's interesting here is that we saw Lucario switch to a blue hue, which is meant to represent it unlocking greater power after its training with Greninja in the episode, catching the Aura of Fate. This allows it to dodge Triple Axle and land a powerful Aura Sphere attack, knocking out Mr. Rime. Leon's next Pokemon is Dragapult. Ash begins with a combination of Double Team and Bullet Punch to land the first strike against Dragapult, and then Dragapult hits Lucario with a point-blank flamethrower. See, Cynthia? This is how you deal with Ash's Mega Lucario. Ash promptly switches out Mega Lucario with Dracovish, marking the first time a Mega Pokemon has been recalled to its Pokeball. After being hit with Dragon Darts, Ash's Dracovish seems to be unlocking a mysterious primal power of sorts, as the sharp red spikes on its torso begin to glow and then extend outward. When this episode first aired, many people were calling this latent dragon power plot armor, but in reality, this is a power-up we've seen before in the Pokémon anime. If you remember, over a decade ago, Ash discovered this power by accident when he battled against Tower Tycoon Palmer in the Twin Leaf Festival. While using Grotle to battle Palmer's Rhyperior, Grotle accidentally swallows its own energy ball, causing the growths on its back to glow full of that grass-type energy from the energy ball. This then gave Grotle a massive power boost to take on Rhyperior, but then Dawn would purposely use this tactic in her following contest, having her Mamoswine consume its own Ice Shard attack to create imposing ice spikes protruding from its back. And because Dracovish essentially ate the Dragon Dart's attack from Leon's Dragapult by catching one of the Dreepy in its mouth, this is what caused the power boost we can see manifest in Dracovish's red spikes on its torso. Having awakened that power, Dragapult charges at Dracovish, but Dracovish catches Dragapult with its spikes. The announcer even makes a remark that it's similar to Grappaloc's Octalock move. This is the move that gave Ash immense trouble during his first battle with Bee, and even in their second battle. Dracovish has Dragapult in a bind and attacks with Fishious Rend, followed up by Ice Fang. Leon counters by using Dragon Tail, and this is actually the first time we've ever seen the secondary effect of Dragon Tail activate. Many Pokemon have used Dragon Tail in the past, like Ash's Charizard in Black and White, or Clement's Heliolisk in XY, but the move's secondary effect that exists in the games never activated. So it's interesting that this battle is when they decided to show it off, but this move definitely plays into the title of this episode, as causing Ash's Pokemon to switch in and out without warning will definitely throw Ash off his game. Dragon Tail forces Ash's Dragonite into the battle, and Ash immediately uses Dragon Dance in response to Dragapult's Dragon Darts. The little Dreepy stay locked on to Dragonite, and it can't even land a single hit with Dragon Claw. As the Dreepy fly back to Dragapult, Dragonite charges in with Dragon Claw and is struck by Dragon Tail, which switches out Dragonite for Lucario. Lucario lands a barrage of bullet punches on Dragapult, followed by a clash between Dragapult's Thunderbolt and Lucario's reversal. But the collision causes Lucario to become severely paralyzed, stopping it in its tracks, allowing for Dragapult to land a direct flamethrower attack. The heat is too much for Lucario, and it's defeated, marking its first defeat after Mega Evolving. Ash's next Pokemon is Dragonite, and it starts the battle by using Hurricane to disorient and shake up Dragapult. Leon responds by using Thunderbolt, and it seemingly neutralizes the Hurricane, very similar to Pikachu's Counter Shield against Paul's Magmortar Smog attack at Lake Acuity, but not quite exactly. Ash's next move is to use Draco Meteor, the most powerful Dragon-type attack. Leon uses Dragon Darts again, and the Droopy are shot down by Draco Meteor, while Dragapult closes in on Dragonite. Ash tells Dragonite to grab Dragapult, and even while being hit with Thunderbolt, it stays strong and uses its signature Dragonite Meteor attack. In Japanese, this is actually called Kairyu Seigun, which is a combination of Kairu, Dragonite's original Japanese name, and Ryu Seigun, the Japanese name for Draco Meteor. As Dragonite spins towards the ground with Dragapult in its arms, we can see that this is a clear callback to Charizard's iconic Seismic Toss finisher move from the original series and Battle Frontier, with notable moments being when Ash used Seismic Toss to finish off Blaine's Magmar, Todd's Poliwrath, Claire's Dragonair, Gary's Blastoise, and Nolan's Articuno. This move is powerful enough to defeat Leon's Dragapult, meaning Ash has now defeated half of Leon's team. After Dragapult goes down, we can hear Shinji Miyazaki's theme music from Pokémon Black and White and Pokémon XY playing in the background, which is now probably one of the most iconic and recognizable themes in the Pokémon anime. This moment also makes it so that Ash has now battled and defeated every single pseudo-legendary Pokemon except for Kamao at this time, which he could have battled if Cynthia decided to use it in the Masters 8. Following Dragapult's defeat, Leon's next Pokemon is his mighty Rillaboom, and just listen to how this man sends out this Pokemon.
Rillaboom, let's go!
Very fitting that the best Galar starter is the strongest starter on Leon's team and probably the second strongest overall, right behind Charizard. Of course, this Pokemon is exceptionally strong and known for sweeping 4 out of Diantha's 6 Pokemon in the Masters 8 semi-finals. So having Shinji Miyazaki's music play at this moment just really sets the tension at a new high once this Pokemon hits the field. Rillaboom has a fearsome demeanor, powerful presence, and strong composure that even makes Dragonite worried about it, and clearly Ash is concerned with how he's going to deal with Rillaboom during this battle. The episode ends with a face-off between Rillaboom and Dragonite, as that is our next matchup. This episode picks up from the last one, with Ash preparing to face off against Leon's deadly Rillaboom. Ash begins by telling his Dragonite to take care as he's fully aware of what this Pokemon is capable of. Remember, Rillaboom is a beast as it was able to defeat Alon's Chestnut in round 1 and swept most of Diantha's team in round 2. So Ash needs to exercise extra caution here. Piplup and Dawn are cheering on Ash from the stands, and Piplup is wearing its signature cheerleading costume from the Diamond and Pearl anime that first debuted in Ash's rematch against Rourke, the Orbrick City gym leader. And I'm still wondering why Dawn didn't bring her outfit. Then in the crowd we can actually see a Dollar and a Wooper behind Chloe and Dawn, and then in the opposite stands we can see a Meowstic and a Toxel. Leon starts his battle off with Rillaboom using its signature drum beating, and Ash responds with Dragonite's Hurricane to keep those vines from reaching Dragonite. After the theme plays, we have Ash and Leon both reading the title card of this episode, which I've talked about in the last 2 breakdown videos, how this just really goes to represent the impact and influence both trainers have had on each other throughout the entire series of Pokemon Journeys, and especially during the Masters 8 tournament. Dragonite continues to hold back drum beating with Hurricane, but Leon has Rillaboom ramp it up and it beats its drum even harder, allowing the vines to make contact and beat down Dragonite and swat it to the ground. This causes its speed to be lowered. Diantha actually remarks about how its speed has been lowered as a result of drum beating, and an effective drum beating at that. Seeing as how this Pokemon swept most of her team, I'm sure she's very familiar with the move. Gosh, I can't even get over how disrespectful that battle was. Leon mentions how when he sends out his Grass-type Rillaboom that many trainers will send out Flying types, so using drum beating like this is how he counters that. Although I'm curious how Leon would use Rillaboom to counter Fire, Ice, Poison, and Bug-type Pokemon as well. Or maybe he just switches out to another Pokemon instead. Who knows? Dawn then comments that Leon is using offense as defense, which is exactly what Ash tends to do. She says how Leon is acting just like Ash, even saying that the two have very similar battling styles, which they do, seeing as how earlier in this battle Leon did use Ash's own counter shield technique against him with his Inteleon. So they really do learn from one another. Leon kind of provokes Ash a bit, telling him to bring it on even further, so Ash responds with the Dragonite Meteor, Dragonite's signature move that he created when he battled Paul at Professor Oak's lab earlier in the series. Dragonite Meteor is actually called Kairyu Seigun in Japanese, as it's a combination of Kairyu, Dragonite's Japanese name, and Ryu Seigun, the Japanese name for Draco Meteor. Dragonite charges in with the attack and Rillaboom responds with drum beating. Ash commands Dragonite to break through, but Rillaboom uses the vines to defend, and then a third vine emerges from the ground and grabs Dragonite by the tail. Since this is the same move that was able to defeat Leon's Dragapult in the last episode, Leon was able to anticipate this attack. Rillaboom then slams Dragonite into the ground, and Professor Oak comments that the attack looks very similar to Vine Whip. Bulbasaur shows interest in Leon's Rillaboom and its attack as they are both grass types, and you could say Vine Whip is Bulbasaur's signature move, so drum beating could be seen as a largely upgraded version of it. Dragonite charges in at Rillaboom again, and Ash has it use Dragon Claw. Leon counters with Acrobatics, the same move he used to defeat Alon's Chestnut and Diantha's Goodra in the matches prior. With its decreased speed, Dragonite is just too slow and can't land any hits on Rillaboom. Eventually, Rillaboom strikes Dragonite's back, then sweeps its legs and strikes a third time with its hands, and Rillaboom is just straight dirty with the hands right here. Look at its hands!
I mean, Rillaboom is a pretty fast Pokemon, though. Damn! Not with the... Ah! Not with the... Not with this! Not with this! Oh! Oh! Leon. That's it, bro. Ash should lose just because of the sauce. Just because Leon's this saucy with the Rillaboom.
Rillaboom didn't have to go that hard and do Dragonite like that. But with that, Dragonite is unable to battle and the match becomes a 3v3. Ash's next Pokemon is Sirfetch'd. We then get a collision between High Horsepower and Meteor Assault, and the clash is intense, both sides struggling to overpower the other, but eventually Sirfetch'd is able to knock back Rillaboom and blow it back into its own drum. At first it looks like Rillaboom is down for the count, but one attack is not going to one-shot this Pokemon since for some reason it was able to withstand a direct Fire Blast from Diantha's Goodra. So Rillaboom stands back up and Sirfetch'd is unable to move due to using Meteor Assault. Then we get this menacing shot of Rillaboom towering over Sirfetch'd as if it's ready to tear Sirfetch'd apart. Rillaboom then lands a direct attack with High Horsepower, knocking Sirfetch'd back into the air, but Ash has Sirfetch'd ride its shield to recover. There's actually an error here as really quickly for a split second while Sirfetch'd is riding its shield, one of its feet is colored white instead of yellow, and it's extremely easy to miss. As it glides on the wind, Rillaboom uses drum beating to attack, but Sirfetch'd dodges the vines and uses Fury Cutter. Rillaboom uses Acrobatics, so Sirfetch'd jumps off its shield to gain some height for its attack. But even that doesn't work as Rillaboom just throws the shield back at Sirfetch'd, and as the shield rides up Sirfetch'd's leap, you can hear this scraping sound that was such an excellent attention to detail by the sound design team, even if these objects wouldn't make these noises. Rillaboom is then able to counter Fury Cutter and land a deadly hit with Acrobatics and slam Surfetch to the ground, and this quick scene is even more intense in the original version. It tries to stand back up, but is unable to battle and falls to the ground as its shield falls to the ground and covers Surfetch. The knight has fallen. This now makes 2 Pokemon in a row that Ash has lost. This is very similar to the sweep Rillaboom did against Diantha. Ash then sends out Dracovish, who still has the latent dragon energy stored within its spikes from its bout with Dragapult. Now remember, Dracovish has unlocked this power due to essentially eating the Dreepy Darts from when Dragapult used Dragon Darts against it, and since it essentially ate an attack in the same way Groudon ate its own energy ball when battling Tower Tycoon Palmer's Rhyperior back in Sinnoh, this is the reason Dracovish is gaining this power-up. Eating a Dragon-type move has increased its own Dragon-type power. It then charges in with Ice Fang and Rillaboom uses Drum Beating. Dracovish is knocked back, but Dracovish is having none of this and uses its spikes to bring the vines together and hold them in place as Dracovish bites through them with Ice Fang. This freezes the vines and breaks them, which seemingly does some sort of damage to Rillaboom. We then get a collision between High Horsepower and Dragon Rush, which is made stronger due to the dragon energy within its spikes. As Dracovish charges in, it remembers its fallen brother Surfetch, which gives a higher motivation to win. The 2 Pokemon collide and the spikes make direct contact with Rillaboom, leaving Rillaboom unable to battle. Leon is now down to 2 Pokemon, and we can see that Clement and Bonnie are also watching the match, but they're shown specifically at this moment since Clement helped Ash with training Surfetch and Dracovish for his battle against Drasna, since he too fought her and lost himself. And it was during this training that Surfetch learned Meteor Assault and Dracovish learned Dragon Rush. Clement is voiced by Mike Licio, who's also voiced Alima in the Sun and Moon anime. He's also done Pokemon such as James's Inkay, Ash's Lycanroc, Olivia's Lycanroc, Gladion's Lycanroc, and Cross's Lycanroc. I wonder what this guy's favorite Pokemon is. And outside of Pokemon, he's also voiced Mach in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, as well as Yuya, Yuto, Yugo, and Yuri, all from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. Then Bonnie is voiced by Allison Leigh Rosenfeld. She's also done the voices for Sophocles from Sun and Moon and Roxy from Black and White. In terms of Pokemon, she's also voiced Clement Bunnelby, Malo's Serena Line, and Nurse Joy's Audino. Outside of Pokemon, she's also voiced Rio Castle from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, Ali and Riley Akaba from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and Oko's mother from Oko's Inn. Leon's next Pokemon is his Libero Cinderace, which means it can change its type to match the move it's using, so it's always delivering stab attacks. We then get several clashes between Dracovish and Cinderace, as Cinderace lands a direct high jump kick on Dracovish, Cinderace cancels out Water Gun using Pyro Ball, it meets Fishious Rend with Iron Head, and then dodges Dragon Rush to deliver a finishing high jump kick from above. This in turn causes Dracovish to be unable to battle, leaving Ash with just 1 Pokemon: Pikachu. This makes Leon want to send out Charizard instead. Now I know keeping in Libero Cinderace with Scorching Sands is more effective and technically the better option, but there's sentiment behind this decision. Leon wants to win the match with Charizard, as it means more to win this match with his first ever partner. As Charizard hits the field, it lets out a mighty battle cry. Listen.
Ash, this is my 6th Pokémon! Charizard, let's go!
Leon then reminisces about how Charizard was his very first partner from the beginning, his first catch, his first evolution. It's been with him on all his adventures, and this is why he wants to win with Charizard. Ash then tells Leon how Pikachu was his first partner too, and that's why he says Pikachu will defeat Charizard. What's even better is that the moment is also a callback to the very first time Leon and Ash battled, as it was Pikachu versus Charizard back then too. Leon immediately recalls Charizard to its Pokeball and Gigantamaxes Charizard. As Pikachu is about to use Thunderbolt on Charizard, it uses Max Rockfall, but Pikachu dodges. However, the after effect causes a sandstorm to be created, causing some damage to Pikachu, but it manages to land an Iron Tail to Charizard's head. I just think it's worth noting that the first strike to Charizard here also foreshadows, or at least parallels, the final strike that Pikachu will deal to Charizard at the end of the battle. Pikachu then takes a direct attack from Max Wormwind and somehow just tanks it, don't ask me how. With how powerful Gigantamax is, Ash decides he's going to need to bust out his Z move now. It's finally time to unleash 10 million volt Thunderbolt. Ash gives Pikachu his cap to wear, and the two charge up their Z-move. As they do so, Ash's Alola family watch from the Pokemon school, and this is actually the last time we would see Samson Oak. And there's actually an editing error in the episode here too, as when we first see the Alola family, Gladion is much closer to the group. But when we get a front view of everyone, Gladion has been positioned leaning against a pole, further away from everyone else. As Pikachu fires off 10 million volt Thunderbolt, Leon fires off G-Max Wildfire, Charizard's signature G-Max move. This is also the move that Champion Diantha was unable to counter successfully, as even though she was able to redirect it with Psychic, Leon subdued this effort by using G-Max Wildfire again to counter it and then defeat Mega Gardevoir. The two incredibly powerful moves collide, unleashing a massive force of energy that causes a beam of energy to fire up into the sky, into the Dynamax storm above the stadium. This battle has become one of David versus Goliath, as Pikachu must quite literally defeat a giant. The impact is so mighty it causes the stadium shields to activate, and Leon and Ash are almost being blown back by the overwhelming power. This clash between powerful moves also invokes imagery of the clash between Z moves we saw at the end of Ash's battle against Professor Kukui. Ash had an exhibition match against Professor Kukui for winning the Alola League, and it ended with a showdown between Tapu Koko and Pikachu. Both used the respective signature Z moves, Guardian of Alola and 10 million volt Thunderbolt, to finish the match. This clash of power is very similar, as we have Pikachu going up against a giant force in both instances and using its signature Z move to defeat each one. Although in contrast to the Z move being the finishing blow for Tapu Koko, Pikachu's Z move is not enough to finish off Leon's Charizard here. We then get another shot of the energy building up above the stadium. We cut to Hammerlock City as Eternatus is reacting to the energy being given off at Winden Stadium due to the combined energies of Gigantamax, Mega Evolution, and Z moves. Professor Magnolia wonders what's going on and what's causing the Galar particle reaction from Eternatus. Eternatus, of course, being the Pokemon that brought those particles to Galar and allowed the region to be capable of Dynamax in the first place. And Professor Magnolia is voiced by Mary O'Brady. The Pokemon breaks free and heads to Winden Stadium, and after 2 episodes of being teased to arrive, Eternatus finally arrives at Winden Stadium. Everyone is in awe and wonder, curious as to why it showed up. The episode ends with Eternatus letting out a powerful cry. This episode begins where the last one ended, with Eternatus showing up at Winden Stadium. Due to the combination of immense energy from Mega Evolution, Z-moves, and Gigantamaxing, Eternatus has reacted to the Galar particles above Winden Stadium, which has been hinted at throughout this entire battle. Ash and Leon look up to the sky as Eternatus fires its Dynamax cannon into the sky towards the Dynamax storm. The title card for the episode appears, and just like the last 30 parts, both Ash and Leon read it off, showing how monumental their battle is and how each trainer has greatly influenced and impacted the other throughout the series and Masters 8 tournament. This episode's title is also a play on the term partners in crime. Eternatus fires its Dynamax cannon into the Dynamax storm above Winden Stadium, and the entire storm dissipates from the area, effectively saving the people in the stadium and the entire region from what could have been a catastrophe. As the storm vanishes, we can see some civilians in the street witnessing this, and one man owns a Manectric. This is the first time a Manectric has been in the anime since the Pokémon movie Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel. Geez, do the writers just not like Manectric or something? When Eternatus leaves, however, you can actually hear a faint cry from it, which is the same cry given to Lugia in Pokemon the movie 2000. Take a listen.
That sound!
After Eternatus leaves the area, it appears that the legendary Pokemon has refilled the energy within Ash and Leon's Dynamax bands, granting them each an additional use of Dynamax during this battle. This intervention of Eternatus is similar to Tapu Koko's intervention at the Alola League during Ash and Professor Kukui's exhibition match. There, Tapu Koko stopped Kukui from sending out his final Pokemon and instead battled alongside Kukui. I've actually got a whole theory speculating about what his final Pokemon could have been, and Tapu Koko even grants both Ash and Kukui an additional use of a Z-move as well, resulting in this climactic finish. So Leon returns Charizard and brings out Gigantamax Cinderace, marking the anime debut of this Pokemon's Gigantamax form. Ash then also Gigantamaxes Pikachu, making its first appearance since his first battle against Leon earlier in this series. Gigantamax Pikachu is also nicknamed Chonkachu by the community, as it's a nod to how Pikachu used to be much chunkier in its official artwork and has thinned out over the years. Leon uses G-Max Fireball and Ash uses G-Max Volt Crash. Both Pokemon enjoy the other's attack as long as they can until both moves result in massive explosions. When the smoke clears, it's revealed both Pokemon have returned to normal size, and the impact of G-Max Volt Crash was too much for Cinderace to withstand, causing it to collapse, bringing Leon down to his final Pokemon. Charizard. And it's just also crazy that this one attack is what brought down Cinderace. Yes, I know G-Max moves are way stronger than regular Pokemon moves and even regular Dynamax moves, but this Cinderace has taken no damage the entire battle, and it gets one shot here. Just a little nitpick, but let's move on. Leon recalls Cinderace and says the battle has now come down to their aces, Pikachu and Charizard. Leon then sends out Charizard in the coolest way possible, and here is a comparison between the original and the English dub.
Charizard, let's go!
Charizard hits the field with its strong battle cry, and Leon says that Ash has done very well pushing someone like him this far, because remember, Leon has gone this entire series undefeated, even coming into the series undefeated as well. He says Ash is helping him become so much stronger, and he does the gesture with his hand that he would do if he was doing his signature Charizard pose. Charizard then lets out another battle cry, signifying that this battle is at its height now. What's interesting here is that Leon's Charizard actually makes the same in-game pose of Charizard we see during the title sequence to Pokemon Gold and Silver. Ash then declares to Leon that because of him, he's gotten so much stronger than they were before, that this is the peak of all the adventures him and Pikachu have been on up until this point. And while he gives the declaration, we can see that Professor Oak, his mom, and Tracy are continuing to watch the battle from Oak's lab, as they have been the entire time. But Misty and her Psyduck and Gyarados are also watching from the Cerulean Gym. Brock, Silent, and Alexa are seen watching the battle together, which marks Alexa's first appearance since A Towering Takeover, 286 episodes earlier. This is also Silent's first appearance since Until We Meet Again from Black and White, 419 episodes earlier. And we can also assume that Brock and Silent at some point realized they were both close friends of Ash after failing to acknowledge this detail during their first encounter together in their Black and White special together. We then get to finally see May and Max in Pokemon Journeys, marking their first appearance since Strategy with a Smile, 690 episodes earlier. They're standing next to Serena, who's wearing her contest performance outfit that she wore in Reuniting for the first time, where she helped Chloe get into Pokemon performances with Eevee. May is also shown wearing her game counterpart's contest costume as well from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And we also see Licia with them as well with her signature Altaria, who also comes from the Auras games, and who also debuted in Reuniting for the first time. And now the final matchup between Ash and Leon can begin. Ash begins with Quick Attack and Leon responds with Ancient Power, but Pikachu dodges the rocks and hops off one to strike with Quick Attack. It bounces off Charizard's belly and prepares to deliver a blow with Iron Tail, but Leon has Charizard knock it away using its tail. Then before Ash can respond, Leon has Charizard launch a flurry of Air Slash attacks on Pikachu and then fires off a powerful Fire Blast attack. In order to defend, Ash has Pikachu use Electro Web, and this is by far the biggest attack that Pikachu has blocked using Electro Web. And when Ash tells Pikachu to run, it reminds me of Ash telling Pikachu to run in the first Pokemon movie.
Run, Pikachu!
Then we get an epic clash between Thunderbolt and Fire Blast, and this shot is actually exactly the same shot we see in the second opening for Pokemon Journeys, which is the shot that's used in the third Japanese opening for the series called 1, 2, 3. Ash has Pikachu use Iron Tail and Leon tells Charizard to take the hit, which seems like a strange strategy, but there's a reason for this we're about to get into. Iron Tail strikes Charizard in the chest and Charizard just smiles as Leon has it deliver a point-blank Dragon Pulse to Pikachu. If you remember, this is the same tactic that Leon used to defeat Alon's Mega Charizard X in the first round. Gosh, that battle still makes me angry, so let's not talk about it anymore. Pikachu refuses to be defeated by that Dragon Pulse and cancels it out using Thunderbolt. Pikachu stands up and Ash says this battle is just getting started. Then Pikachu fires off a powerful blast of electricity, showcasing that his fighting spirit has been raised to the max. I would simply call this Voltage if it were an electric type version of the abilities Blaze, Torrent, and Overgrow that starter Pokemon commonly have. This also looks very similar to when Ash faced off against Rourke in the Orberg Gym for the first time and got knocked down by Rourke's Trainedos. Paul was watching and Pikachu refused to be defeated with Paul watching, so to defend Ash's honor as a trainer, it stood up and fired off a powerful blast of electricity there as well. Leon responds with its battling spirit being turned up to the max, and Charizard's flame on its tail burns brighter than ever as it engulfs the field in flames. Both Pokemon have their spirits and hearts ablaze, and as their passionate spirits ignite, Sonia looks onto Leon as she reminisces about Leon starting his journey with Charmander. Of course, Leon's first battle was against Sonia, and they've been friends since childhood, so it's a touching moment that Sonia is reflecting on how far Leon has come. The camera pans across the field to Ash, and we can hear Shinji Miyazaki's iconic music in the background from Black and White and X and Y. Then Ash has Pikachu deliver the fastest quick attack we've ever seen. This knocks back Charizard, and Leon uses Ancient Power. It's much more powerful than before, and to dodge this, Pikachu actually uses the Rock Tomb Climb technique that Ash developed to take on Grant, the Solage City gym leader back in X and Y, which he then turned into Draco Meteor Climb. Now at the top of the stadium, Pikachu uses Quick Attack to dodge the oncoming assault from Charizard's Air Slash attack, and then gets knocked off the metal structure, so it then uses Iron Tail to block each attack from Air Slash, and then tries to hit Charizard. Charizard dodges, causing Pikachu's tail to smash into the ground with intense force. This gives Leon the opportunity to fire off a powerful Fire Blast attack, and with Pikachu's tail stuck, it can't respond fast enough to use Thunderbolt to counter, and it is engulfed by Fire Blast. The impact from Fire Blast was so strong, combined with all the other damage Pikachu has taken during the match, that it's struggling to stay standing. It's exhausted, it's running out of energy, and its breathing is heavy. But there's actually a big difference here between the English dub and the original version. In the English dub, there's light music to accompany this serious and tense situation, which does work, it's fine. But in the original, this moment is miles better because the entire moment is silent. Music in any piece of media, whether it's a YouTube video, short film, or blockbuster film, is crucial to setting the tone and mood of the scenes that we're watching on screen, but sometimes silence is far more powerful and impactful depending on what the scene is showing and what the context is. In this case, the silence of the original version just works far better. It adds so much more weight and emotion and tension to the scene as we watch to see if Pikachu will collapse and Ash will lose, or if Pikachu can keep fighting. And this is a lesson I think the English dub really needs to learn, that sometimes the power of silence is far more effective than any soundtrack that they can create.
Pikachu! Pikachu!
Another difference is that when Pikachu is panting from the attack, trying not to collapse, its breathing eventually becomes muffled, and when Ash yells out Pikachu's name, that is also muffled, but this is only in the Japanese version. Take a listen. Even edits like this decrease the quality of the anime for dub viewers. But let's continue our breakdown. I'll leave a link to my friend Lumios Trainer Zach's video about the differences between the dub and sub of Pokemon in the description if you're interested. It's a great video that really dives deep into the production and editing choices between sub and dub. As Pikachu struggles to stay standing, we see a beautiful sequence of all of Ash's companions watching this match as they look on with concern, hoping Pikachu can pull through. This is actually the last time we'd see many of these characters, which include May, Max, Dawn, Iris, Serena, Clement, Bonnie, Lana, Lily, Kiawe, Sophocles, Malo, Todd Snap, Cynthia, Alexa, Diantha, Professor Kukui, Gladion, Professor Burnett, Rose and Oleana, Sonia, Lei, which is Ash's younger brother from his Alola family, and Professor Magnolia. This is also the first time every main character has appeared in the same episode together since the episode The Right Place and the Right Mime, 810 episodes earlier. When Pikachu finally collapses due to exhaustion, it begins to remember the first time it met Ash at the start of their journey, and then remembers every single one of his friends that he's made across all his journeys. We see Ash's original Kanto team, and this marks the first appearance of Ash's Pidgeot since the Fires of a Red Hot reunion, 444 episodes earlier. But if you don't count that since it was shown as a Pidgeotto, then its last actual appearance was in a flashback 1086 episodes earlier in Fighting Flyer with Fire. Butterfree was last seen 236 episodes ago in Alola, Kanto, the same with Ash's Squirtle. We then see Ash's other Kanto Pokemon, and this marks Primeape's first appearance since the Fires of a Red Hot reunion as well. We have Lapras's first appearance since Lapras of Luxury 960 episodes ago. In regards to some of Ash's Pokemon that we see during the sequence, we need to highlight Kingler, Muk, Swallow, and Boldore, as their voices were done using archived audio from Unsho Ishizuka. He is included in the credits of this episode since they used his archived audio as he was a former Pokemon voice actor for the anime who lived from May 16th, 1951 to August 16th, 2018. Rest in peace. We then see Ash's Johto Pokemon, which actually includes Larvitar, so this counts as one of Ash's Pokemon which we last saw in Alola, Kanto, who he cared for while in the Johto region. We see Ash's Hoenn team, which includes Ambipom, which we haven't seen since To Thine Own Pokemon Be True, 627 episodes earlier, and we don't need to talk about that episode anymore. Remember, Ash didn't catch Aipom in Sinnoh, and not even in Johto. He caught it in Kanto after his Hoenn adventures, but since it was caught during the advanced generation, it's considered part of his Hoenn team. Then we see Ash's Sinnoh team, the Goats. Next we see his Unova team, then his Kalos team, marking Gujo's first appearance since Till We Compete Again, 278 episodes prior. Then we see Ash's Alola team, and this episode marks the final physical appearance of Ash's Lycanroc and Melmetal. Then finally, Ash's Jourenys team appears to root for Pikachu and Ash. This gives Pikachu the power needed to let loose its most powerful blast of Thunderbolt yet, as it wakes up to get back into the battle. And this scene also marks the first time that all of Ash's Pokemon have appeared in the same episode together since Mystery at the Lighthouse 1204 episodes prior. This of course is not counting any flashbacks or anything of the like, all actually appearing in the same episode together. Now we've reached the absolute climax of this battle as Pikachu is engulfed in Super Saiyan electricity and is at the peak of its power. Ash is so happy Pikachu stood back up, and now it's time to finish this battle. In classic Ash Ketchum fashion, he turns his hat around and says they're going to put everything they've got into this attack. Ash turning his hat around here is what he classically did during the original series and also the beginning of the Black and White series, but it's also reminiscent of his hat turnaround that he did when he went to finish off the battle with Pikachu against Tobias and his Latios. Now it's time for Leon and Charizard to give it everything they've got as well. Leon throws off his hat and does his signature Charizard pose just like he would do in the games, and Charizard enters its strongest state yet. Ash has Pikachu use Thunderbolt, and Leon has Charizard use Fire Blast. In one final epic clash, the two Pokemon collide and both trainers give it their all. But something to notice here is the way the attacks are used. Normally both of these attacks are special attacks and are fired off on the Pokemon, but here they're turned into physical attacks as they charge in using these attacks. This makes Pikachu's Thunderbolt attack look like it's using its iconic Volt Tackle attack, and it makes Charizard look like it's using Flare Blitz, and when it charges up Fire Blast, it looks similar to Infernig's Blaze ability activating in Ash's battle against Paul at the Sinnoh League. During their final attacks, we can hear the original Pokemon theme song playing in the background, as it's only fitting to play this song in the final moments of Ash's greatest battle. In the original Japanese version, we can hear the original Japanese theme song for Pokemon playing, which is called Mezase Pokemon Master. An absolutely perfect choice for both versions of the anime to play their respective theme songs. We then fade to white. Pikachu wakes up in the Pokemon Center, and Ash is relieved to see Pikachu awake now after such an intense battle. Ash says Pikachu's last attack gave him the shivers, and Pikachu remembers what happened. The final clash between Pikachu and Charizard, Thunderbolt versus Fire Blast, and when the moves end, we can see some sparks going down Pikachu's body the same way this would happen when Pikachu would take recoil damage from Volt Tackle. Also, just look at the eyes on Pikachu and Charizard, that is wild. These Pokemon have used up all their energy and gave it the best battle they could. Pikachu lands and Charizard tries not to collapse, but it lets out one final cry before succumbing to its exhaustion and collapsing. Charizard is unable to battle. For the first time ever, Leon's Charizard has been defeated on screen. We then get this shot of Leon with his hat on the ground that just symbolizes his loss and how he now has to step down from his title as Monarch. Ash is overjoyed with the victory and Pikachu tries to use the last bit of strength that it has to walk to Ash, but it can't make it and Ash catches Pikachu just before it falls. Just another little way of showing his bond with Pikachu and how he's always there for his Pokemon. Leon then enters the room and thanks Ash for a great battle and how it made him think of his very first battle against Sonia when he was a kid. He said it was fun, yet frustrating, explaining that's what a Pokemon battle is. Ash and Leon agree to have more battles to continue to grow stronger and to battle again sometime. Then Pikachu taps its head on Charizard's head, which I just find funny since Pikachu just hit Charizard on the head to defeat it in battle, so like, what the heck, Pikachu? It's then time for the award ceremony where Leon hands Ash his trophy for becoming the new world champion. Look how beautiful this trophy looks. Everyone congratulates him on his victory, including Team Rocket, saying our Pikachu comes shining through. Just so wholesome of them given their long history with Ash and Pikachu. Diantha actually then comments that she's actually gotten the sudden urge for a battle, showing how Ash's personality is just infectious. Cynthia then tells Diantha that she's free for a battle. I mean, Cynthia, if you're still free after that, why don't you and me have a battle? Ash's Pokemon also celebrate for him by making a fireworks display using water gun, flamethrower, and a combination of Razor Leaf and Leaf Storm. This is actually the same display they made to cheer for Ash when he returned to Oak's lab in the episode Friends, Rivals, Lend Me Your Spirit. And in typical Torkoal fashion, Torkoal is crying tears of joy for Ash's victory. Ash can now stand tall beside his Pokemon who helped him become the new champion. Pikachu, Dragonite, Gengar, Lucario, Sirfetch'd, and Dracovish. Ash Ketchum has now become the very best like no one ever was. After the ceremony, Ash is back at the hotel resting after such an intense battle, and he wakes up to a call from Go. Behind Ash is actually a rather peculiar painting. This is actually similar to a work of art known as A Sailing Ship on a High Sea by Moonlight by Ivan Alvasovsky. It features a ship on the ocean with another ship to the right, with a moonlit sky and light shining around the moon, almost sparkling. This painting is also very similar to Alvasovsky's most famous work, The Ninth Wave. I've actually talked before about how this painting hinted at the debut of the Rising Voltaculus from Pokemon Horizon, as they use a giant ship to travel to the Pokemon world in the new Gen 9 anime. This was quite the battle. Brilliant animation and lighting, the intensity, the tension, the drama, the action, everything was done so well and this truly was Ash's greatest battle. This battle may be a bit controversial due to the circumstances surrounding it, but I absolutely loved every moment of this battle, especially the ending between Pikachu and Charizard. This battle was truly peak fiction. Congratulations, Pokemon Master Ash. And these are all the little Easter eggs, hidden details, and references that I could find throughout the entire episode. Thanks for watching and let me know in the comments if I missed any details and what your favorite moments were. Subscribe for more Pokemon anime discussion and breakdowns like this, and until next time, Pokemon champions, train hard and I'll catch you guys later.